This is a special report of the OhioRAAM show.
Well, hello out there. This is Jim Lawyer here at the OhioRAAM show. Special report talking a little bit about reflecting on RAM 2021. Hey, Lee.
Hey, hello. How have you survived?
I don't know, but we're coming back out of it. I got a few more brain cells alive today than yesterday.
Yeah, well, we're waiting for Shu Pillinger to show up.
Mm-hmm.
It has something to do with how France and Switzerland are doing in the. I got to get my phone out of gear here. In the European football trophy.
Yes.
And we want to make sure that if you're watching, you give us your comments about the race across America and the race across the West this year. A lot of things to talk about.
Definitely.
We hope Shu comes in. Maybe some other people drop by. I don't know.
Yeah.
But Jim, you got to tell me about this trip with the saddle. How'd that all come down?
Well, basically, Eric had come through and he was looking pretty good. And then I get a message from Phil Fox, who's going to do that world record up around Michigan. And he's an ambassador for the seat brand Infinity. And he goes, Jim, I know you got a seat. Did you see this post? And I was like, nope, because I was busy doing other things. And so I called Randy, the crew chief, and said, hey, I've got one. I can meet you guys halfway, because they were already well into past the Ohio border. And I said, I can meet you guys halfway. Waited for them to call me back. And I got thinking, I'll just go. And if they meet me halfway, cool. If not, I'll just go on and find them. So jumped in the car, went that way. Well, I learned a few things about my GPS and putting in Latin longitude that I didn't like. And finally caught him up about 172 miles from Chillicothe. He went down for a sleep break. So gave him the seat, turned around and headed back. So a little 90 hour drive with my getting lost helped Eric, I think, get to the finish line, which I'm glad. That was the point of the whole thing. Get him to the finish line.
We're glad to have Shu with us. Hi,
yes,
Shu.
hey, Shu.
Hey guys, I just caught the end of that, and Jim, I can't believe you drove that far to deliver a seat.
Well, like I was telling
I'm
Lee,
so impressed.
Yeah, beforehand, I didn't want to feel like, I had something, and if I didn't do it and he didn't finish, I'd always think I could have helped.
Do you know we also call this karma? So if you hadn't done it, the next time you're stranded somewhere and you need somebody to deliver something to you, it wouldn't be there.
Well, we've always had that philosophy at the OhioRAAM time stations. Back a few years ago, somebody wasn't geared at all for the upcoming Little Bitty Hills coming up, and we gave him a Dura-Ace crankset that I had laying around. And that got him farther. He ended up DNFing, unfortunately, but neither here nor there. And we gave somebody a 4-bike rack one time when they backed in and tore theirs up. So that's what we're here for, to help them fulfill their dreams, basically.
One of my crew has a story about how his saddle pin broke, and he basically stopped by the side of the road and knocked on somebody's door in the middle of nowhere, and they happened to have one. They gave him, put it in his saddle for him, and he carried on doing this. Was London, Edinburgh, London.
Yes.
And then following the next time, he went and stopped and visited them again.
Yeah.
And he did it every time he did the event, and he kind of built up a really nice relationship with the people just because of what they did.
Yeah. Well, we'll do it. We'll continue giving and giving and giving, because I know I've been out there before and had issues and had people help me. So it's always good to give to other people. So especially cyclists, and especially on this event.
Glad to see Larry here. He's always here. We're always glad to see you, Larry. I'm sorry to say that we're not giving anything away tonight, are we, Jim? I don't think.
We may not. We'll just play it by ear and see how it goes.
Okay. Well, this is just a free for all.
Yes.
Shu. We had a little chat earlier about the role, how we deal with and report on women. Now that it's all over, and I guess the France-Swiss football game is over, is it?
No, it's still going. It's gone
You
to
got it on
penalty.
record, have you?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for taking that break. Don't anybody post the report in here.
No, we don't want her to find out.
Don't worry, I'll probably hear from the other room. You know what the Brits are like. We're secretly willing on the Swiss.
Yes.
Hey, Larry, send Jim or myself a private message about the book situation.
Yes.
And we'll get that straightened out.
Definitely.
With RAAM going on, I think we missed a couple people were involved there and so forth. So we'll get that taken care of.
Definitely.
Interestingly, what Larry just posted about Darina still on the course. I've been following this all day. So when I logged on this morning, I checked to see how many miles she had to go, and I checked the time, and I thought, ooh, that's quite tight. And then I looked at my own time to see what time I got to various stations, and I thought, yeah, that's quite tight, knowing how tired I was at the end. And I've been following her all day, and then her tracker went off, and the DNF has gone up onto the onto the website. So I know she's been timed out, and I know that means there's no official finish, but I know she's carrying on, and I think that's pretty cool. So given all of the hideous heat, and the heat in the US has even made the national news over here in the UK today about how unprecedented it is, and how some heat cloud over parts of the west coast of America.
Yeah, I was amazed.
That she's had a really tough time, and I hope she gets the finish, and it's a real achievement anyway.
Yeah, we kept 43 open till she came through, because we weren't going to miss anybody for any reason. So, and she looked pretty strong. I mean, she was still pedaling good, and like I said, I know that technically DNF, but I hope she finishes good and strong.
The video they posted earlier on Facebook, she looked really strong. I wrote exactly that. Yeah, looking strong. I did not look like that at that point. I looked like somebody needed to push me.
Yep. And when we first started RAAM, if you looked at the course and the heat map across the United States, the course was right along the hottest part of the United States. It was amazing. The whole thing, it was just like, wow.
This heat thing, and I've mentioned this before, it's kind of a bugaboo of mine. I think that's going to become an increasing problem, don't you think, Shu?
Yeah. I know every year they say it's unprecedented heat. I'm a climate change activist in the UK. I do a lot of campaigning for what we call the Green Party, which is an ecological party in the UK. Climate change is real. Everybody out there in their big carbon chugging vehicles and their petrol and diesel, you're all contributing to the heat. It's not going to go away until everybody stops driving cars or using fossil fuels or eating meat. And one of the things I remember from America, actually, over in Missouri, is those horrible feedlots with all the cows. There's your climate change just there. Thousands and thousands of methane producing animals heating up our planet. We just need to stop, and it's going to go on until we stop this and reverse it. But I agree, Lee. I think it's going to be a thing for the years to come. It's going to get hotter, and it's going to get weirder, and it's going to get more dangerous. And maybe they'll even have to change the date of when we actually run RAAM to make it safer for participants. Well,
I like I said, what concerns me. If this keeps up the way it is, sooner or later we're going to lose somebody out there in the desert.
Well, even on my RAAM, I remember we actually came across somebody who'd lost their crew, a rider who'd become separated from their crew and was severely dehydrated. And it's only, my crew sort of like, are you all right? Do you need anything? And he was like, he had no drink left. So they gave him drinks and, can of Coke. And then carry on. But it won't take, you could lose a crew member for what, half an hour, maybe stuck in traffic, and that could be serious.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. I thought, could it be run earlier, or I don't know. And then the other thing, we've had a couple close calls with wildfires. Was that a problem the year wasn't that a problem one of the years you rode? There was a fire.
I don't specifically remember it being a problem. The year I did it, I had the lovely route into Sedona, and I think they now go slightly round.
Yeah,
where we went.
It's a very difficult situation there.
Yeah.
But, I think, didn't they have to detour or reroute this year for a fire situation?
Yeah, I think it was between 8 and 9. They had to shuttle them. Some of them. They came through a little
shuttled,
bit later.
okay.
Yes, they shuttled.
And I know they had a near miss there at the right after I forget the name of the town, but right after 6. And they lost some firefighters there.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, one of the RAAM riders was a firefighter on that crew.
You're talking about name will come to me. He raced one year I did. So to Larry's question, I raced in 2014 and 2015.
Yeah. Thanks, Larry, for the question.
I think I might have had him on the show. I'm not sure. I think.
Yeah, you definitely have. You definitely have.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will give you a name in a second.
I should have a spreadsheet, Jim, with all the names
I know.
of everybody we've ever had on the show, because I'll get some. Have I ever? I can't remember.
In our spare time, we'll work on that laugh joke.
Yeah, in our spare time.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, if you're out there watching, post your comments, your questions, how we can do better on the show, how we can do better for everybody at the time stations, because we want them to be the best and be there for you guys.
I want to take an opportunity to talk about the time stations a little bit, Jim, and just make a comment. The OhioRAAM show is not the reason we have the time stations. It's the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
The time stations in Ohio are the reason why this show happened. And we should understand that that's the source of our strength and our moral fiber, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not the only ones. There are other people across the country who do this. Some not so well noticed.
Mm-hmm.
But I know they're real important to the process, and I think Shu can comment on that.
Mm-hmm.
I think one thing I've noticed over the last couple of years is there have been lots of really keen fans and supporters who've actually started to have like pop-up support areas and fan areas. I know there's the family who, is it Blue Hill Farm? Is that what it's called? They've been posting saying, drop by. I mean, that's just so cool. And they've got all the posters up and they welcome the teams. So I think we've got the official time stations and the crews who are looking after those, but we've got other people who are joining in the fun. And I think that's so cool.
Yes.
And brilliant. And they're sitting there watching the tracker and they're running out to find out who's coming around the corner and putting loads of stuff on social media. I just think that's brilliant. Great fun to watch.
Definitely.
And I think if I picked up, and I may be putting 2 and 2 together and getting 6, but with the enthusiasm that developed over Leah, that there was generated some traffic along the road to watch her go by.
Yeah.
And I saw some evidence picked up in the RAAM media and some other things. We got a comment on that. That's our own team here.
Yes, I know.
Team Zenzo set a mixed gender team record.
Yes.
And we thank all of them for what they pulled off. That was great. And the story there is so great. Judy Stutz,
Mm-hmm.
she falls off her bike, and I think she broke her collarbone, I believe.
I believe that's correct.
And they take an X-ray, and something showed up on it.
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, she had, I believe, it was thyroid cancer.
Yeah.
And she tells it that when they were when you're in the hospital, I don't know if they do this in the United Kingdom or not, Shu. They come in and say, now, what are your goals?
Yes.
And you have to sit there and come figure up what they are. It's always to get out of here,
It's interesting. When I broke my collarbone in 2014 in RAAM, when I got home and I kind of left it just as it was for about 7 weeks, and then I went to get a second opinion, and the surgeon there was, yeah, we could play this. What are your goals? What do you want to be able to do after this? And I said, well, I need to go back and have another go. And he goes, go at what? Sorry. And I had to explain what RAAM was. And I said, and also I do triathlon, so I really need to be able to swim. So if you can just make it my arm works properly. And he was so cool. He just completely fixed it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I was ready to go again.
Yeah.
Well, she put as her goal to do RAAM as a 4-person team in 2021, and by golly, they did it.
Yeah, and they were an awesome team when they came through.
Yeah,
TS43.
We had another Miami Valley team E2 Endurance. We're happy for them.
Yes,
weren't quite Miami Valley, although the Miami River goes down that way.
Yeah.
The Cincinnati Bell team,
definitely another great rookie team that did finish. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Did I see earlier that the last team didn't make the?
Yeah, 40 something amazing possibilities. 401, I believe.
Is that quite unusual for a team not to make the cutoff? I was quite surprised.
I think so from past experience. Let me look and make sure I'm talking.
I guess that shows you what we've been dealing with here.
Yes, definitely. Very tough conditions.
Larry says, well, you can post it. It was right outside the time limit. They did have them on. They did live stream them, I believe. I think that was the group I just saw before I came here. Correct me if I'm wrong, Larry. I'm sure
it was 411 team possibilities.
Yeah.
And it shows they did did make it to 54, but outside the time period.
Yeah.
Just going back to our earlier conversation, so the firefighter was PJ Lingley. He was in 2014's race with me. Unfortunately DNF'd, but I know that he was raising money for the firefighters who died in one of the awful local fires. And I know that they have a big group gathering every time the races go through. Is it somewhere near Prescott? So they raise a lot of money for the firefighters.
Yeah. We never know what we're going to talk about for sure, so we don't remember all these names. The other thing, I thought it was interesting when Leah came in, she waited and gathered. She came in together with all her crew around her.
Yes.
That was kind of unique, I thought.
Yeah, and it needs to be more of that because without the crew, the riders, I don't think, would be anywhere. It's the crew and the support that take care of every little thing, every little need, and let them focus on riding, in my opinion. So the crews are the unsung heroes,
I would agree with that, and I know my crew were very close behind me when we crossed the line. I noticed that Eric came across on his own, and the crew were a long way away. The other thing I noticed this year, and I don't know if this is just a COVID thing, was that when they did the interviews at the end, they didn't bring the crews onto the stage. And that was a big thing when I had my interview at the finish line. Was I did my 10 minutes talking to George, and then the whole crew came on, and we were all there dancing. And I think George then spoke to my crew chief. But yeah, such a shame not to involve everybody, because I thought that was a really big thing at the finish. We all had a big group photo, and they actually had a chance to say something as well at the end.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that was probably part of the COVID protocol, because they were still where they were, and
Social
rightly so.
distancing.
Yeah, they were social distancing, and we had all those rules in effect at all the time stations just to be safe because we didn't want to be a problem causer. We want to keep continuing on with the great races and stuff that we do.
Well, crewing on RAAM will either make you friends forever or enemies forever, one or the other. More often than not, it's friends forever, but every once in a while, a crew will disintegrate, and we've seen that more than once. We're talking about Dorina Vaccaroni here and her coming on. This goes back. I mentioned this to Shu the other night, and I got to be careful what details I reveal here, but Cari White, she rode a couple years in a 4-person women's group she was from Vail, Colorado. I think they were all from Vail, or the one year they were at any rate, and did quite well. And she was I think she was the only one in the group. She was a type 1 diabetic, and became a part of the type 1 team, which is now Novo Nordisk. They've gone professional. Mm-hmm. It's hard to talk to any of them because they have to have a contract signed before they can come and talk to me. But at any rate, Cari decided she was going to do it solo and be the first person to ever finish the race across America as a type 1 diabetic. She could give herself an injection. She had to take injections while on the bike. She'd just pull up her shorts and jab herself, and on she went. Remarkable. But things were different when it come to women in those days. She didn't make the cutoff, I believe, at the Mississippi River. Mm-hmm. And there was a certain attitude that, well, if you want to race with the big boys, you got to race with the big boys, And so she, of course, had to take all her signs off the car and so forth. And I understand there's liability issues that they have to deal with to do that. But she decided to come on as well. Well, by the time she got to the Mississippi, she had such a following, particularly among parents of children who were type 1 diabetics, that they were waiting for her, mm-hmm. everywhere. And it got to be a bit of an embarrassment. I remember a woman waiting there at Troy in the rain with her daughter. They'd come from Michigan just to see Cari White go by. And say, hey, look, you're a diabetic, Cari's a diabetic, look what she can do. But I may get in trouble with the management here now, so we'll find out. But I don't remember who owned the race at that time. I think the period where it was kind of flexing back and forth. But anyway, they had to do something, so they had a big bouquet of flowers waiting for Cari when she arrived at the time station. But I kind of became friends with Cari because I helped, sort of like Jim did. They got in a pickle with some equipment, and I was able to pull something out, a rabbit out of the hat in the middle of the night, and that kind of brought us together. But
do you know, Lee, something you said there about, racing with the big boys. Since I was last on the show, and we were talking about the fact that Leah was about to win, and treating women differently. I actually then went away and thought, oh gosh, I actually sound a little bit hypocritical because women have that extra time allowance. So here's me saying, well, actually, I want to be treated the same, but I had 21 hours extra to finish. Now, I know there are guys who have been timed out because they're just over 12 hours, mm-hmm. but yet I was over 12 hours, but I get an official finish. Yeah. And it really made me kind of think, I sort of was like a bit of a double take. It's like, have I really finished? or do I need to go back and do under 12 days to prove that I can really do under 12 days? And I know, for instance, Joanne Deichmann did exactly the same thing. She thought, actually, I need to go under 12 days. And so she went back and did under 12 days. And my crew, they constantly tell me, you should have done under 12 days. If you hadn't stopped in a Walmart car park to have a hair washed, you wouldn't have wasted so much time. I've had this all week. Like, you could have been quicker if you hadn't done this, that, and the other. And now I'm kind of thinking, now it's a little bit, it grates a bit, and I'm thinking, should I have done that to prove a point rather than accept that the 21 hours is there for me? Because I said, I don't think RAAM is about physiology, so why should I have an extra 21 hours?
Yeah. Well, actually, what happened, I think the Cari White situation may have changed it. And again, I'm just pulling this out of the air. But the next year, I believe it was, they started the women a day early.
Yes.
Along with was it over 70 men or over 60?
Yeah, over 60, I believe, yes.
Okay, you that's about the time you came in, wasn't it?
That's correct. That was like the second year, I believe.
And you remember they allowed that the team that had a single track bike.
Yes.
They allowed them to start early, and they just blitzed the race away.
Yes.
But anyhow, they did that for a couple of years. I don't know how long, and then they did what Shu experienced. They add the extra 21 hours. So they did make some adjustment. I don't know, Shu, how I understand what you're saying. Should men and women compete equally on a totally level field or not?
I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? I understand how the calculation has been done, because if you were to look at Olympic sports, there is a difference, right? There's a difference between men and women racing. And by all accounts, we shouldn't be as fast as the men. But I think RAAM is such a different beast. There's so much else that comes into play that's nothing about your ability dependent on gender. It's nothing to do with, muscle or stamina or lung capacity or anything like that. There's so many other factors, and most of it is psychological. So it's a mind game. Are you going to get back on the bike or not? Are you going to keep pedaling or not? Are you going to fall out with your crew or not?
Right.
How can and stuff that is kind of genetic. So maybe your predisposition to be to react to altitude or heat. I don't think either of those things are affected by gender. So I think you're either going to be affected by it or not. And that's the same for men and women.
Yes.
Some people do, and some people just sail through without even noticing it. So actually, I don't know. And then you see some of the longer unsupported ultra races where you don't have that crew aspect, and the women are doing so well. And I wonder whether we should actually have that extra allowance or not. I don't know. Maybe it's beyond a certain point, like after a 5-day race. Does gender play no part in it whatsoever?
Right. Yeah. And,
well,
and is there the mental thing there, like you're saying? Would you try harder if you knew you didn't have that extra, or would it make a difference?
Well, I know what happened to me.
Yeah.
For instance, I was in a race with Shana Hogan, and I passed her, and then she DNF'd. So I slowed down because I knew she was out of the race, and it was like, oh my God, I've passed Shana Hogan. And then they let her back into the race, and she rejoined after submitting a DNF, and I couldn't believe it. Suddenly I had her breathing down my neck again. So I changed my race strategy, because all I had to do was finish, and I was going to be third and finish ahead of Shana, but then suddenly she rejoined and I had to speed up again.
Right, and that mental flip can cost you big time.
Yeah. Here's an example. I mean, you guys are over in the States, but we're watching Euro 2020 football tournament in Europe at the moment. Right. And France were playing Switzerland, and Switzerland went ahead, and then there was a penalty, and Switzerland missed it, and France suddenly perked up and just went, oh my God, that was really close. We need to actually start playing now. And they started playing, and it got really, really close. So that kind of psychological stuff is really important. Little things can flip the way you're thinking.
Definitely.
Whether you think somebody's chasing you, or you think, for instance, Eric, right? Eric he got to a point where suddenly he was leading the men's race. Now, I bet he didn't go into RAAM thinking that was going to happen.
Right.
And then suddenly you're like, actually, this is not just a matter about finishing anymore. This is about winning. This is about being the first American winner of the men's solo race since 2000 and
whatever it was.
Yes, I think if you would have tried to convince Eric that he was going to win this thing for the men, he would just said, "You're totally insane." But
but look what it did. It turned it around. It made it. This is like actually really important now. And when he got to the finish line, he was so coherent about, I can't believe I've actually become the first American male solo winner for however many years, and this is a big deal. And it probably drove him for 400 miles, 500 miles.
Yes.
Keep going.
Totally agree.
Same with Leah. I mean, she could have taken her foot off the pedal a bit because she was so far ahead that she just had to make sure she finished to make sure she won. But I bet she didn't slow down until she realized that she was in first place and there was a big gap behind her. I bet she was still driving ahead for that over 50 plus women's record.
Definitely.
Until she suddenly thought, hang on a minute, forget the women's record, I'm in the lead.
Yeah. Well, I'm so anxious to talk to Eric about his experience because I know that the big issue with him, you remember, Jim, when we talked to him before, was his sleeping. And he has sleep apnea, which I have as well. And that means you actually stop breathing so many times an hour, a night, what have you. And you wake up. You don't become conscious, but you're just that spot before consciousness, Shu. So you're not really sleeping. And so he worked with his sleep doctor to take his CPAP machine with him. And I think the plan was 3 hours, as I recall, Jim, wasn't it?
Yep.
3 hours.
When I caught them, that's what he was doing up on sheriff's porch that he got to use.
His sleep doctor said that before he had that machine, in 3 hours, he was getting no sleep at all, even though he was not conscious.
Right.
So I'm, because of my own personal experience, I'm anxious to talk with him about that. So, okay, well, it's been a good chat. Hey,
yes,
a couple of things. Jim and I have no plans, Shu, beyond this show. We'll come up with something. I mean, we're not quitting, but we've always kind of gone in a hiatus and catch our breath, and there'll be some special things coming up. You got something coming up with Joe, haven't you?
Yeah, Joe is doing a 24-hour world record, Joe Lawhorn from Chillicothe, over at T-Town Velodrome in Pennsylvania. And then Georgie Stoichev is actually on the Bike Nonstop across U.S. right now. And we're going to start covering him hopefully tonight if I get my stuff back together.
Okay, and
hopefully you'll speak to Meg after her epic.
Oh, yes, that's
British Columbia thing she's doing.
That is on the agenda.
Yes,
like I say, these special things that crop up. But once we get back toward fall, we'll start a regular schedule. Larry wants to know if there's another RAAM in your future.
We stepped on each other, Lee.
I'm so we both.
Oh, Larry, don't tempt me. I would love to, but I can't afford to. I don't know if you appreciate how much it costs for a solo rider to self-fund RAAM from the UK. It's bankrupting, and I did it twice. And the second time, it took me a long time to pay off the debt. However, if there's sponsors out there who want to pay for me to try and do it,
There you go. Exactly. Yeah.
If there's some Brit out there that would like to see a British woman back in there again,
or maybe a race against Pippa Middleton, I'm up for any kind of healthy competition with the only other woman who's finished RAAM from Britain.
Well,
I'm sure she didn't have any help either. It was all out of her own pocket.
There.
Yeah. I'm not sure how
we-
much she actually cycled either, but there you go.
Well, she was riding when I saw her pretty healthily, I'd say. Anyhow, we didn't have a gift this time, but we will starting up again.
Mhm.
I was going to wear my new OhioRAAM T-shirt tonight, but I spilled mustard on it, and you know how hard mustard is to get out of something. Yeah, so I didn't dare put it on. It's a nice shirt. It's got a nice little logo.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually over here, right? I was going to say
Yes.
right over your heart, but it's over my pacemaker, I should say.
Oh,
But we'll have some of those available.
yeah.
There's no graphic on the back, that big stuff. It's just a nice little logo.
Big picture of Lee on the back, isn't there, Lee?
Yeah. And once in a while, there'll be a coffee cup with the logo on.
Yes.
Can you see that?
Yep. Definitely. That's awesome, Lee.
And got RAM on the other side. That won't happen too often. That's a little pricey, but we have some other things in the works. I think Jim's got some. You had some other things you're giving away down there at 43, weren't you?
Yeah, we were giving away some plastic coffee mugs that had the logo on it, and we've got some good things in the works for the next year, and I'm sure we'll make it even bigger and better and help more people love to learn to like RAAM and love RAAM. Yes.
Lee, do you still have the key ring I gave you?
I do. I could run out and get it. Tell you where it's at. It's in the console of my car, and it has the spare key on it, the spare electronic key.
Yeah.
So,
you see, they're quite good. You can actually have key rings made so that they have support vehicle, follow vehicle, RV.
Yes.
yeah.
Actually on the key ring. Really useful for crews.
That's a great tip. We need to do a tips and tricks show.
Yes,
I
when
think.
we met, I think it was in Oxford on your successful. She had a little key ring for me, said Black Magic on it. I have it. I put it on the extra key dongle.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason it said Black Magic is we named our cars. So they had different names. And I actually, this is weird because I didn't realize this until afterwards, but we had a puncher in the follow vehicle. And they put me down for 20 minutes sleep and they swapped 2 cars over. And they literally took everything out of follow and put it into support. And when I started off again, they said, don't worry that you've got a different color car following you. And I turned around and like, that's a different color car. Is it a different color car? What color was my car before? I have no idea. I have no idea what's going on. And they told me what happened. And I was like, you swapped everything in 20 minutes.
The weird thing is, didn't you call your van Black Magic, Jim?
It's Black Max.
Okay.
Black Max, yeah.
Okay. Close but no cigar. Well, Shu, it's been great. Hey, listen, we're going to shut this down. Don't go away. Thanks, Larry, for all your input.
Yeah, and I want to give a huge shout out to all the volunteers that helped at all of our time stations.
Yeah.
And a bigger shout out to all the crew, support people, the officials, all the people that run RAAM did a great job bringing it back this year. It'll be even better next year.
I'll second that. I mean, I never thought this was going to happen this year.
Yep.
And it turned out to be a really exciting race. Amazing that people got crews to the start line. Amazing they got themselves there. Amazing they got through that heat. Well done to everybody who even gave that a go. And absolute massive kudos to anybody who finished.
Yeah. They're all winners, whether they made it to time station 2 or all the way to the end. They're all winners.
Yep. And we're so glad to see you here, Shu. Thanks a lot for dropping in. We want to get you back to your ball game, but hang on for just a minute when we end here.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye bye.